While I was abroad for work, my sister got pregnant with my husband's baby and planned to ditch me so they could start a new life. Their plan fell apart when I came home early and caught him with the baby. Now she expects me to move on because we're family, even though my husband wants nothing to do with her either. I still can't believe what happened. My own sister, the one I shared a childhood with, had a baby with my husband while I was thousands of miles away for work. And they planned to just leave me in the dark, start a new life with their secret child? The betrayal cut so deep it felt like a physical wound. For context, I'd been working abroad for over a year and 4 months as a project manager, and let me tell you, it was intense. I barely had time to breathe, let alone fly back home. When I did manage to get a few days off, I'd always make a point to see my husband. My family? Not so much. We weren't super close and our schedules rarely aligned, so eventually I just focused on him. It's not like we were out of touch, though. We talked occasionally, even FaceTimed. That's why it's absolutely mind-boggling that none of them, not my husband, not my sister, not even my parents, thought it was important to mention that my husband and sister had hooked up and she was carrying his baby. It feels like they were never going to tell me because I found out purely by chance. I was actually planning a surprise. My project was almost done, and I was coming home for good at the end of the month. I was so excited to tell my husband in person, so last weekend, I decided to just show up. I was walking towards our house, probably beaming, when I saw him. My husband. And he wasn't alone. He was walking with a baby. I froze. A baby? What on earth? The moment he saw me pull up, his face went from surprise to absolute panic. He started stuttering about not expecting me, completely unlike his usual warm greeting. I didn't want to play games. I had this gut-wrenching feeling. So I just asked him straight up, "Whose baby is that?" He started rambling, telling me not to freak out, but it was too late. My mind was already racing, a million awful possibilities flashing through my head. After a few agonizing minutes of him trying to calm me down, I finally just yelled, "Tell me what's going on now." That's when he dropped the bomb. "This is my baby," he said. "And the mother is your sister." I literally went numb. My brain couldn't process it. I remember trying to convince myself it was a joke, some sick prank. But he just stood there, silent, and the terrifying reality set in. It was insane. It took every ounce of strength I had to pull myself together. I asked him as calmly as I could, "How in the world did this happen?" He started this whole long explanation about being lonely while I was away, feeling depressed. And my sister apparently was there for him. They have offices near each other, so one day he just asked her to lunch because he missed me. They became friends, and a few weeks later they hooked up. He swore it was a one-time thing. A total accident fueled by his loneliness and her recent breakup. They supposedly felt so guilty they agreed to never speak again and pretend it never happened. But then a few weeks later my sister called him. She was pregnant. And she planned to keep the baby, but she wasn't going to be a single mother. He suggested an abortion, but she refused, citing morals. I mean, seriously? Morals about having a baby with someone else's husband? The hypocrisy was astounding. He went along with it, and that explains why my sister had basically ghosted me for months. About 6 weeks ago she gave birth. And my entire family was there because of course they were. They knew. My parents knew the whole truth all along and said nothing. For 9 months, I had absolutely no idea my sister was pregnant with my husband's baby. After he finished his pathetic apology, he tried to tell me they were just going to put the baby up for adoption, that I'd never have to hear about it again, and he'd cut my sister out of his life. But it didn't matter. I was reeling. There was no way I was going back to him. I just turned, got in my car and drove. I didn't know where I was going, but eventually I ended up at my parents' house. And wouldn't you know it, my sister was there too. The air was thick with discomfort. They knew. My sister, without even waiting for me to say anything, blurted out that she was taking a job out of state, leaving forever, so I wouldn't have to worry about her messing things up for me and my husband. She repeated his lie that it was just a mistake, a one-time thing. She also mumbled something about the baby being taken care of, not specifying anything, so I just assumed she and my husband were on the same page about adoption. But that's when it hit me. They thought the baby was the problem, not the fact that my husband had cheated on me with my own sister. The baby was a result of the affair, but the real problem was their betrayal. I completely ignored her and just started yelling at my parents. How could they betray me like this? Hiding the truth was just as bad as lying. Their lame excuses about not knowing if it was their place to say anything didn't fly with me. I told them they all let me down, and I wanted nothing to do with any of them. Then I left. I didn't go home. I couldn't bear to see him. I blocked him everywhere and checked into a nearby hotel. I had planned to stay for the weekend, but I couldn't. I booked a flight back to work for the very next evening. I even considered calling a lawyer right then and there for a divorce, but I decided to be practical. I'm coming home for good at the end of the month anyway, so I'll start the proceedings then to avoid any legal mess. Until then, I'm stuck dealing with their desperate attempts to contact me. And I mean desperate. They keep making new accounts, new emails using different numbers. They all want the same thing: for me to forgive them and come back home. And here's the kicker. My husband and sister clearly hadn't discussed their plans for the baby. He told me adoption, but her messages revealed something else entirely. She expects us, me and my husband, to adopt the baby. When she said taken care of, she meant she'd send child support, but we'd raise him. Meanwhile, my husband wants nothing to do with her or the baby and wants him adopted. My sister is trying to convince me to play happy family, because she planned on moving away for her new job right after giving birth, assuming we'd take the baby. She keeps saying we share DNA, so it would be wrong for me to let go of her child. It's utterly delusional. My husband, on the other hand, is still trying to coax me back, promising the baby won't be part of our lives. My family is driving me absolutely insane. On top of my husband and sister's conflicting opinions, my parents are now joining in, telling me I need to forgive them because it was just a mistake, and they didn't intend to hurt me. They're even laying the guilt trip on thick, saying my sister is miserable, and the only way my husband will agree not to put the baby up for adoption is if I come back and raise him with him. Otherwise, he wants nothing to do with either of them. They keep saying they understand what I'm going through, but honestly, I don't think they do. They're trying to manipulate me by saying the baby, who is only a few weeks old, will suffer the most if I don't agree. I've seen him, and yes, he's adorable like all babies. But he's also the living proof of my husband's affair with my sister. He's the physical manifestation of my husband throwing away an 8-year relationship and a 4-year marriage for a few months of loneliness. I'm sorry, but I cannot raise him and pretend to be his mother just because my sister wants him to stay within the family. Sharing DNA doesn't mean I have to share my husband with her too. I don't think she or my parents grasp any of this. All this pressure has actually started to make me feel weird and guilty, even though I know I shouldn't. I guess I need to make a few things clear. Nobody told me about the pregnancy, obviously. And yes, I didn't see my sister for 9 months because I was working nonstop and only met my husband on my short visits home. There was nothing suspicious about that. It was our normal. And no, I had no idea what my husband and sister were planning to do with the baby. That was between them, and honestly, who cares? They clearly had wildly different ideas and never discussed it, choosing instead to put me in this impossible situation and try to guilt trip me. It's a massive, miserable mess. Update 1. Thank you all so much for the support. Really means a lot. I've decided. I'm going through with the divorce when I get back home, and I'm going to keep ignoring my family. Their feelings aren't my responsibility, and I hate to sound harsh, but neither is the baby. I might be his aunt, but I'm not his mother. If my sister can't take care of him, that's on her. Of course, I hope he gets adopted into a good family because my parents were right about one thing: the baby will suffer. After reading all your comments, I realized how outrageous it is that my sister thinks she can have her cake and eat it too. She doesn't want to raise him herself because she wants to pursue her new job, and she thinks throwing money at us will fix everything. But she also doesn't want to give him up for adoption to another family. I don't understand her obsession. There are open adoptions. If she wants to stay in touch with her son in the future, she can find a family who's okay with it. Or better yet, if she values family so much, she can raise him herself instead of expecting me to bend over backward for her. Especially when she's the one who screwed me over with my husband. I owe her nothing. It's truly insane that my parents are trying to guilt trip me into going back to my husband just so my sister can have her way. And my husband? I don't think he understands the magnitude of his screw-up. If he did, he wouldn't still be entertaining the thought of me coming back, let alone raising the child he had with my sister. He must be living in some higher level of delusion. I've been ignoring them for 2 weeks, but he hasn't stopped texting. Non-stop every single hour. I can't even count how many accounts and emails I've blocked, but he always finds a new way to reach me. At least my parents and sister have toned it down a bit. They're usually just one long text every other day now. I guess they're starting to get the hint and accept what's happening. But my husband, he still thinks he can talk me into coming back, which is just ridiculous. All his messages are the same, blaming himself, and I don't know what he expects me to do. I'm obviously not going to tell him it's not his fault because it absolutely is. He's promising to make me the happiest person on earth, to never mess up again, but it means nothing. He already messed up, and I'm not giving him another chance. It's just sad and pathetic that he hasn't understood I'm done, no matter what he says. I've already started speaking to lawyers back home, and in 2 weeks when I finally go back, I will most certainly be initiating the divorce. I'm done. Update 2. It's been a couple of weeks since my last update. A few days ago, I finally wrapped up my project and came back home. Work has been a huge distraction, but now that this massive project is over, I'll have some downtime, which means I have to face the divorce head-on. Honestly, deep down, I've been dreading it from the beginning, but I know it has to be done. My husband still hasn't stopped texting. He's sticking to his routine even after weeks. I admire his dedication, but that divorce is still happening. I've already spoken to a divorce attorney, explained everything, and we have the petition ready to file within the next 2 days. My petition is fair and simple. I keep the house and the car, and I'm not demanding alimony. I could have gone for extreme terms, but that would just drag it out, and I want this over with quickly so I can move on. Now that I don't have work to distract me, the full impact of everything is really hitting me. Being back here, closer to my husband and family than I've been in over a year, but having nothing to do with these people anymore, hurts more than I'd like to admit. But I have to deal with it. I haven't even told my friends about any of this yet, but I know I eventually have to. I don't even know why I feel so ashamed and embarrassed, especially since I'm not the one at fault. It just feels incredibly humiliating to be on the receiving end of something like this. Anyway, I'm going to keep it quiet for a few more days. Once the divorce petition is filed, I'll put it out on social media because I can't bear the thought of telling people in person. Wish me luck, I guess. Update 3. Yesterday, my lawyer and I filed the divorce petition. And this morning, I finally decided to rip off the Band-Aid and just do it. It was so hard to find the right words, but I finally made the announcement. After a really long relationship and marriage, my husband and I are getting a divorce due to his infidelity. I could have gone into all the juicy details for drama, but that's not what I wanted. I just wanted it out there, and that's all I posted. My husband is still texting me, but I stopped checking his messages a couple of days ago. Before I posted, I had over 600 unread messages from him. Within an hour after the post, that number doubled. I stopped blocking his accounts a while back because I knew it was pointless. He'd just find another way, another email, another account. It was a waste of my time. But it's not just him. So many friends have reached out, even a couple of coworkers. Old acquaintances I haven't spoken to in ages have too. And it feels incredible to have all this support, especially since I have none from my own family. This is amazing, more than I could have asked for. It won't make the divorce any easier emotionally, but at least I'll have people by my side. My friends are already telling me they'll be there for me throughout the process and have asked to meet up as soon as possible since they didn't even know I was back. Feels so good to know I'm loved. Update 4. Hey everyone, it's been a few weeks since I filed for divorce. My husband continued to text me for a few days after that, but then he just stopped. I'm really glad he did, honestly. It would have just made things worse for both of us. Today, he finally responded to the petition. He's decided not to contest the divorce and has agreed to all my terms. I'm so incredibly happy this is happening. I would have hated for him to disagree, drag out the divorce, and make an even bigger mess. I have no idea how he agreed so quickly, but I'm just relieved. With my sister and my parents, I've had absolutely no contact since I came back here, and I definitely intend to keep it that way. Even in their last few messages, they were trying to convince me to go back to my husband just so my sister could handle the adoption process the way she wanted. But now that I'm not coming back, and my husband doesn't want custody, she has no other option but to put him up for adoption with him. since she's not ready to raise him herself either. I found out because apparently before looking for families outside our own, my sister started reaching out to everyone in our family, asking if they'd be okay raising her son. I don't even know why she thought that was a normal thing to do, but obviously most people said no. And since a lot of people had already put two and two together about my husband and sister, some didn't even bother getting back to her and just told me what she was trying to do. It's genuinely sad for the baby, but I'm really hoping her son gets adopted into a great family and never has to find out what his parents are truly like, because I'm pretty sure that would break his heart. The bottom line is, since nobody in the family wanted to adopt him on her terms, my husband and sister have decided to start looking for other families for the baby's sake. I hope it all works out well. Update 5. Hey everyone, it's been a couple of months since my last update, and I officially got divorced last week. It was finalized so quickly, and now I can finally try and move on. He did send one last email after the divorce was finalized, apologizing for everything he put me through, saying he'd work on himself to be worthy of me again, and hoping I could forgive him and give him a second chance if we ever met again. It was so dramatic, and honestly I just cringed. I can't even imagine going back to him at this point. If I'm being honest, I don't feel like I'm in love with him anymore at all. All the feelings I used to have for him just evaporated during the divorce, as I realized how badly he had betrayed me. Before, I was really upset that out of all the people in the world, he chose my sister to cheat with. That's what hurt the most, along with the fact that my sister and my parents betrayed me in the worst possible way. It stung a lot, until one day it just didn't. The only thing I regret is spending so much time and energy on these people who it turns out weren't worth it at all. But whatever, it doesn't matter anymore. It's all in the past, and I've decided not to think about it. I know a lot of you must be wondering what happened with the adoption. While I'm not aware of the exact details, I did hear from a couple of family members that in the end, my sister decided against letting her baby go and moved out of state with him. I'm not sure how much truth there is to that, but if it's true, then that's great. Good for her and the baby. Anyway, now that I've earned a decent amount of money, I'm planning a really long, expensive, and luxurious vacation. I've even asked a couple of friends to join me so I can take my mind off everything, and a few have agreed so far. So I'm going to be out there, having fun, and making the most of my life, because I absolutely deserve it.